Today I'm going to be ranking every math symbol on a scale from S to complete trash. First up is multiply. Now this is my favourite multiply symbol, this is my least favourite, and I'll tell you why. When people use the dot to mean multiply, Americans, I'm looking at you, it confuses the hell out of me because it looks like the decimal point. If I write 7.4, right? That looks like 7 times 4. Is that 7 times 4 or 7.4? How am I supposed to know? Okay, at the very least, make it nice and thick so that we all understand that it's a multiplication. But the dot's not completely trash because you can sometimes use it for dot product as well. The divide symbol. If we take in one number and we're dividing it by another number, that's a fraction. Look, dot over dot. It's just dot over dot. It's number over number, which is the same thing as dividing two numbers, right? So it makes perfect sense. Plus minus. If there's nothing wrong with this symbol, got to go in A tier. In fact, you know what? It's got to go in S tier. Same with minus plus, okay? You've got plus minus, goes one way. Inverse of that is minus plus. Makes so much sense. Less than or greater than. The way that I was taught was to add the crocodile in. Now, why teach kids to envision a crocodile if this doesn't look like a crocodile? Why not draw the full crocodile, okay? This, or like Pac-Man, right? Pac-Man wants to eat the bigger Tic Tac, right? So he's going to eat the bigger Tic Tac. Why not draw it like Pac-Man, or at the very least add little teeth in here so it looks a little bit more like a crocodile? Right? And then we can easily show kids, look, the crocodile's eating the bigger number. It makes so much more sense. So if this had teeth, it would be in S tier, but it doesn't, so it's got to go in C tier. Equals sign. Now, if I was to invent an equal sign, I would make it like a scale, like a balance, because that's all it is. You're balancing one side with the other. I would make it look sort of like maybe this, right? Because then you've got like the pivot point here, and then you can put like your weights here and your weights here, and if they're equal, then it balances out, right? So this would be my equal sign. Let me know in the comments if this is terrible, but I think that's a lot better than what we currently have. But what we currently have, it works, you know, it works. I don't think it confuses anybody, not like the less than or greater than symbol. So I've got to put this in A tier because it's pretty functional, it works pretty well. Approximately equal to, this makes a lot of sense, okay? Because if something is equal to, then it's equal to, right? It's straight, okay? If something is approximately equal to, then it's wavy, it's wavy. It's we don't really know for sure. So this makes a lot of sense, but it's not great because this is the kind of symbol that annoys people like me when I'm talking about something and then some nerd in the comment section goes on about, oh, you should have used the approximately symbol, it's not actually equal to. Shut up, okay? So it would go in complete trash, but because it actually has some use and it makes a lot of sense, I'm going to put it in B tier. If you know what this percent symbol means, it literally just means divide by 100, okay? And if you divide by 100, what do you have? You've got a divide sign, right, which is like a slanted line, and then you've got 100 at the bottom like this, right? But instead of putting the 100 down here, we can take off the 1, because the 1's not significant in this case. We only really need to know what the order of magnitude is and put the other 0 up here. It looks nice, it's a nice little symbol, it's like a stylized version of divide by 100, and that's exactly what it means. I'm going to put that in A tier. This is in A tier because it makes sense. If this is divide by 100, then this is divide by 1,000, okay? So if you just put an extra 0 on the end, then you get, I think it's per meal it's called, I think, and that's divided by 1,000. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Degrees is just based on an arbitrary number, 360, that has a lot of factors, which is useful, but it's not really that great. It's not really, it doesn't really mean anything, you know? So I'm going to put it in B tier. You know, it's helpful to teaching kids, but like really it just adds additional confusion, especially when you teach kids degrees and then you have to switch to radians, and they're like, why did you teach us degrees in the first place? And I was like, I don't know, it was on the syllabus. This next symbol is not a cut-off infinity, it's actually a proportional to symbol. Now, I don't really like this symbol because I think they could have designed it a lot better. First of all, if y is proportional to x, then y equals kx, okay, where k is a constant. But if k is a constant, then why is it not c? Why is it not called c? You know, like in integration, when you have plus c, plus constant, right? Maybe, I was thinking maybe physicists just don't know how to spell the word constant, so they use a K because they think it's spelled with a K. But I think they do it on purpose to annoy us. You know, it's physicists use proportional to a lot. So I think they do it on purpose to annoy us because they know that they really should be using C. Okay, C stands for constant, not K. Okay, and if it's if it's equal C, if this just means Y is proportional to X, then why don't we just merge the equals and the C together? Why don't we make it something like that, right? Which would mean the same thing. It's just they're merged together, right? That would be the new proportional symbol, okay? And it makes a lot more sense, right? Or maybe even if you want to make it a little bit more stylized, you could do like that, right? As a proportional symbol, like a where the equals sort of connects to the top and the bottom of the C there. And so this could be a nice proportional sign. But no, they have to make it look like that, like a fish, for no reason. So I'm going to say it's not great. To me, it makes sense, but also something that I got really confused with is which way around it goes, because that means proportional to. This means inversely proportional. It's like, how am I supposed to distinguish between the two? You know, it would make a lot more sense if maybe instead of that, if we put a line under it, because it's kind of like y equals c over x. So if we put a line over it, that could symbol that division there rather than just multiplication. So maybe that would make it better. Maybe I should have been there when they invented mathematics. I probably would have made it a lot less confusing for all you guys. So let me know in the comments what you think about that proposition. C tier. Next one is the floor function. If you took this symbol and showed it to an alien civilization and asked them what it would mean, they would say floor function. Perfect. It's just perfect. It looks like what it is, S tier. Same with ceiling. They would say it's a ceiling. Okay, the alien civilization would know what that means. This as well, to. That is, you know, again, alien civilization would see that and it's instantly see that means to. You know, you're going from one place to another, draw a little arrow in there, you know. It's like pointing in a direction, right? So that is just perfect. This one is just a little bit off. I mean, I get why you use the D symbol, but if when we're teaching like gradient, right, the gradient of a straight line is capital delta y over capital delta x. If we're going to use capital delta, the Greek alphabet, then when we're talking about small delta, why don't we use small delta? You know, the small change, right? Why do we switch to Latin letters? It doesn't make sense to me. You know, we switch to dy over dx. It's like, you know, and I get that that's probably used for something else, right? And then you use this for the partial one. But like, guys, just keep it the same for if something is smaller, make it smaller. Don't do anything else to it. There's no reason to switch it to Latin, okay? So other than that, it would probably go in A tier, but because of that, it's going to go in B tier. Next is the integral sign. Now, the integral sign is actually a really nice symbol because if you have a curved line and you have the slices underneath it and you want to find the sum of all of those little slices, then you're finding the sum, the S, right? So you'll notice that an integral sign is actually just an elongated S. That's all it is, okay? So the actual correct way, I guess, to write it would just be a really long S like that, right? That's all you're finding, the sum. So I like it a lot. Okay, it's nice and it's better than just using the letter S because the letter S could be confusing. If I was to just write S, X, DX, that could look a little bit confusing. You know, it looks just like I've written a bunch of Latin letters there. Looks like I'm writing more of a made up word rather than a math equation. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to put it in I'm gonna put it in S tier, you know, because it's S. It is S. What else? What other tier would I put it in? Now, pi. Okay, hear me out. All right, hear me out. Okay, pi. Let's take the symbol pi out of your head. Take it out of your head. Imagine you've never heard of the symbol pi. We have a circle. We found that there's this constant that is just involved with circles. Anywhere where there's a circle, this constant shows up. Okay? Think about the letters in the word circle. Think about what a circle looks like, right? We're going to use the letter P and make it Greek. What has that got to do with circles? Pi is just P, Greek P. At least use Greek C or whatever, or Greek O, or something like omega, right? That makes sense, like O, like it's a circle, right? But Greek P, pi? In what world does that make sense? You've chosen a letter that has nothing to do with circles, looks nothing like a circle. It's not even got really anything circle-like in it to represent the constant for circles. Makes absolutely no sense, and it's complete trash. Next symbol is tau. Now, I think that tau should replace pi. And my opinion on this is very important because I am a mathematical expert. I know lots and lots of maths. I know so much maths that I would be convinced that I know more than like a professor. Like, I know more than like the world-class mathematicians. So my opinion on this really matters. If you have a full circle, okay, and you're starting here, and you're measuring the angle all the way around the full circle, okay, we'll call this angle theta. Now, if I want to find the full turn, what's that equal to? That's equal to 2 pi, okay, which is tau. All right. What about if I wanted to find a half turn? What's that? Well, that would be pi, which is a half tau. Okay. What if I wanted to find a quarter turn, which is that? That would be pi over 2, which is a quarter tau. Do you see what's happening here? Look, this is a turn, this is a half turn, this is a quarter turn. Doesn't that make so much more sense? Greek tau. And also Terence Tao, guys, Terence Tao. He's in maths, we can put him in maths. So this is a turn, this is a half turn, this is a quarter turn. It makes so much more sense. Not this is a turn and this is a half a turn. That's a half, that's not a quarter, but it's a quarter turn. It makes no sense, okay? Tau is much better than pi. It makes more sense. I'm going to put it in S tier. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I don't care what you guys are gonna say, okay? Shoot me. I'm gonna put it in S tier, all right? I will die on this hill. Next is the root symbol. Now, the root symbol, my theory on it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that because root starts with the letter R, we use a big letter R, because that's basically just a letter R. It's also a root symbol, right? Root. Root makes a lot of sense, right? So yeah, and we put the X underneath it to mean root X, and then we put the nth root there. So it's a nice symbol. It makes a lot of sense. I don't think I would have designed it in a different way. So A tier. I mean, I don't particularly like it because it's nothing really interesting behind that. But yeah, it's designed in an intuitive way. This symbol, okay, again, I'm going to get a lot of stick for this. I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments, okay? But hear me out. The power symbol. Now, A plus B. What happens if we make that more powerful, right? We want to make the result bigger. We use a different operation. We make it A times B, okay? What if we want to make this result bigger? Well, we use the power, okay? And that, for some reason, the B becomes small and it goes up next to the A. Like, what? Why? Why does it go next to the A? Why does it go small? We're making it bigger. This is having more effect now, but it's making it smaller. It makes no sense. We should use another symbol, probably like this and then this. Yeah, and that would make more sense. And then what we could do with that is instead of making tetration something like this, right, we can make tetration 2 arrows. And then we can go infinitely along with that, okay? Because if we use this as a power, this as tetration, and this as pentatation or whatever, then you go back to here, which is, and then it becomes a subscript again, and then it becomes a power again. You know, it's like the only real use for this is if you're trying to describe Graham's number to somebody. So it's not really useful. But yeah, Graham's number, when you're actually using tetration and pentatation and all of this stuff, just uses arrows anyway because it's easier to understand. Okay, and they might even use up arrows like that. Okay, and I think that up arrows work too. So either one of those would be better. The power, the way that we currently write it, not my thing. I'm going to put in complete trash. Same with these two, complete trash. Now, we've got n factorial, which is n exclamation mark. I kind of like it, and the reason I kind of like it is because if you're talking big O notation, right? If you've ever done big O notation, you'll learn with limits, right? You'll learn that like factorial is the most powerful, right? It's biggest. It makes a number really big really quickly. So it makes sense to have it as an exclamation mark, because if you're making n big, you're making it loud. It's big, you know, boom, n, I'm here and I'm big. So the factorial makes sense. Not a problem with it. Not particularly beautiful, but you know, it is just stealing a symbol from English and using it in maths. So it's got to go in A tier, not S tier, sorry. Phi. Phi is the golden ratio. There's nothing about this symbol that tells me that it's the golden ratio. It doesn't really look particularly beautiful. It would be nice if a symbol used to represent the golden ratio actually contained the golden ratio in it. You know, like it actually had some kind of property that was drawn using the golden ratio or some, you know, but I don't like it. I think it's trash. It's probably better than the tetration symbols and stuff, but it's still pretty trash. This symbol, the colon. I'm gonna say, as a symbol, I prefer to use the vertical line to mean given, but I think there's a good reason. There's a good argument to say that we should use colon to mean given or such that, because the vertical line is sometimes used for absolute value, so it might lead to confusion. So it's not completely useless. It's used for ratios as well, obviously. So, and I like it in ratios. It kind of makes sense. You know, it's like the division symbol, but without the slash, because we're not actually dividing anything. You know, we're just talking about a ratio. It's like so it's like if you imagine the division symbol is like dot divide by dot, right? The ratio is just the two dots compared against each other. You know, we're just comparing them. We're not dividing anything. We're just comparing them. And that makes sense for ratios. So I'm going to put it in S tier. You know what? I should give it more credit. You know, maybe we should just use the line as the absolute value because it makes sense as that. And we shouldn't use the line for given. We should use this for given or such that, right? Because it's just a better symbol. This symbol here, similar to. Yeah, it makes sense because if something is similar to, it kind of is like being approximately. It's just everything is the same apart from the size and possibly the rotation, right? So yeah, it's similar to. Good symbol. No real complaints. I won't put in B tier. I would like it to be more indicative of the size being different rather than it just being a wavy line. You know, it's just a little bit bland. Like, you know, what does a wavy line tell you, really? This congruent to symbol. Next is the angle symbol. Look at it. It looks like an angle. You know, it looks like exactly what it is. You know, if you show that to an alien civilization, they know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the, you know, size of the you know, the difference of the size of the ratio between the arc length and the radius is the angle. You know, it makes sense. A tier. Solid A tier. Perpendicular to. I mean, look at it. Boom, you've got two perpendicular lines. And it doesn't, like, you can't use a plus symbol because that's already taken. So yeah, and then parallel, two parallel lines. It makes so much sense. This, however, I'm going to put in B tier because it's sometimes used for cardinality and magnitude. And yeah, it can get a little bit confusing with that. Maybe magnitude and cardinality should just get their own symbol, you know, because why are we nicking the symbol for parallel, you know, to use that anyway? This should be the symbol for size of and cardinality, but I don't really like it because there's nothing that tells me that this is the size of something or the magnitude. It's just a line, you know, or the absolute value. It doesn't tell me anything, you know. Maybe if, because when you take x and you find the absolute value of x, it creates a graph like this. So maybe that's the symbol we should use, you know. Maybe we should do it like that, and that means absolute value of. I don't know. Maybe maybe we can put in between here. We can put like the absolute value or something like that. I don't know. This means line, and the line extends infinitely in both directions. So yeah, it's a solid symbol. A tier. Therefore, I'm not a huge fan of this. Now, I know people like to use it a lot, but this confuses me because you're not supposed to really use this in every single statement, but you kind of can. You know, you can write, for example, 2a equals 2b, therefore a equals b, right? Or you can even write 2a plus 1 equals 2b plus 1, therefore 2a equals 2b, therefore a equals b. You can use therefore in every line, so why do we even need it? You know, what does it tell us? It doesn't tell us much. And also, what makes 3 dots mean therefore? How is that therefore? You know, if it was T or F or TF, then it would make sense. But it's just 3 dots. The because being the upside down therefore makes a lot of sense because it's the inverse kind of, you know, if A therefore B, then B because A, right? So that makes sense. But other than that, nothing really good for it. So I'm going to put it in C tier. I for imaginary value. Yeah, makes sense. You use imaginary. The word imaginary starts with the letter I. It's got to be. Sigma. Sigma for standard deviation. I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but standard deviation starts with the letter S. So sigma is a Greek S. So yeah, perfect use of Greek symbols there. It's got to go in S tier because it's sigma, you know? You know what I'm saying? You know? Anyway, mu. Got to put it in S tier as well with the sigma. Sigma's been mewing, you know what I mean? You got to put them together. Big sigma. I'm a big sigma. That's me. Got to put in S tier. I'm a big sigma. I'm a sigma male. I am a sigma male. Let me just say it louder so my neighbours can hear. I am a sigma male. There we go. So my neighbours heard that, so they now know that I'm a sigma male. This is capital pi, and it's used for planes. Planes, yeah, get that? Pi, planes, perfect. And it's used for product. Product, yeah? Not like pi for circles, no. Pi for product. Pi for planes. Perfect. P. Gotta go in S tier, okay? I'm putting a lot in S tier, but I mean, look, it couples with the sigma as well. I like using product. I mean, you could even use it to define what this factorial symbol means. So it's got to go better than the factorial. It's got to be one layer up, you know, the set symbol. Now, I understand why they use this because we already use the brackets in maths for BODMAS so that we can, you know, order our operations, right? We use the brackets already. We already use the square brackets sometimes. Some people use them. I don't like it when people use them because I don't think it makes sense. But we use it for like matrices. Some people use it for vectors. Some people use it just as an alternative to brackets, right? So those two are already used, so we kind of had to go with this. But I'm not a huge fan because it's kind of hard to write, you know? I would prefer it if it was easier to write as a symbol so that when I'm writing the set of blah, 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 I don't have to think about, oh, how do I do the curly thing again? You know, I can do it. It's just I have to think about it, and I don't want to have to think about it. Next is the symbol for whole numbers, which is N. Next is the symbol for natural numbers, which is N, which makes so much sense. Natural numbers, N. Natural numbers. S tier. No, A tier. Because, I mean, yeah, I get why it's n for natural numbers, but I call them whole numbers, and I think whole numbers just make so much more sense in my head. Like it's just a 1 or a 2 or a 3. It's just a whole number, you know, it's not like a negative or a fraction or anything. So, I mean, I get why natural numbers n, but I prefer the word whole numbers. Uh, Z for integers. Who came up with that idea? Okay, honestly, I'd like to have a word with them because integers, maybe that's where it comes from, but like, come on, you've got to learn how to spell the word integers with an S. Okay, you've got to learn how to spell before you can start inventing mathematics. So I would prefer it if they made it a blackboard bold I for integers, right? Because the blackboard bold I isn't being used for anything else. You know, you can just literally make it on the board like that, and that means integers, and that would make so much more sense. I don't know why they used Z. So complete trash, complete trash. Honestly, complete trash. This one, Q for ration. Actually, I'm going to give Z the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to put it in C tier because this one is a lot worse. Okay, I don't get confused with Z, and the way I don't get confused is because if I look at it at a slight angle, it sort of looks like an I. It looks a little bit like a capital I because if you just look at it at an angle, it looks like an I. This has nothing going for it. Okay, I get that the R was already being used for the reals, but come on, guys, you could have thought of a better symbol for rationals. Maybe use F for fractions because that's what rationals are. They're fractions, right? If R's already being used, be a little bit more creative. Okay, I think it's maybe quotients where it comes from, but who says quotient? Who says 3 quotient the 4? The quotient of 3 and 4. Like, what? Just use F for fractions, like how normal people speak. So this has got to be complete trash, honestly. Right up there with these two here. The letter R, the reals, perfect, perfect. What else would you use? Okay. P for primes. P for primes is perfect. C, actually, we're going to put them in S tier because there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay, I like them. C for complex numbers. Again, S tier. Complex, C. Boom. M for matrices, S tier. Boom. Okay, this one is quaternions. Now, I get that that Q was already being used up, but come on, change the Q to something more reasonable like an F, and then change the H to Q for quaternions. Guys, it's not that hard. I mean, they should hire me at like some mathematical institute just to sort all this out because honestly, it's becoming a mess, and we need to do something about it before it just becomes like a jumbled mess. And then when the aliens come and invade Earth, they're not going to understand all these symbols because they're going to look at them and they're going to think, why did they pick that symbol? It makes no sense. Anyway, next symbol is this one, which actually means the empty set or the null set. Now, I don't like it because, again, it doesn't tell me that it's the null set. I mean, it looks like a 0. It looks like an empty. Like 0's empty, right? Okay, I kind of get that. But, like, we would write the empty set as this, right? That would be an empty set. So how about we make it join together and then that's the empty set. Boom. We don't need a new symbol for that. We've already got the symbols. We just join them together. So C tier, nah, yeah, C tier because it kind of looks like a 0. It makes a little bit of sense. Omega. Now this is the biggest infinity, and if anyone's got a problem with that, I don't know. Maybe your mum is the biggest woman on earth. Okay, so Omega. I don't like it. There's nothing that tells me that it's something special, or big, really, particularly. I mean, it looks kind of big, but like, if it looked more like an infinity sign or like more like what it was, then I would like it. But I don't, and it's not even easy to write. So I'm going to put it in complete trash. Next symbol is the partial symbol. Now, it looks like the D has been smacked on the back of the head and it's become a little bit partial, it's not really fully there in the head. So I really like this symbol. I'm going to put it in S tier because it's just perfect. In maths, we should see them as like human beings. We should see the symbols as human beings. They play with each other. They interact with the letters and the numbers and stuff. So this is the perfect example of the D for difference being smacked on the back of the head and becoming partial. You know, it's perfect. Next is the upside down triangle. If I was going to try and rate this and pretend like I understood what it meant, then I'd be lying to you. I don't. I mean, I understand kind of. It's, you know what? I'm gonna put it in A tier because I think from what I know, it's related to the partial sign, and the partial sign looks a bit like a delta. This looks like an upside down delta, so it makes sense. It makes sense. It's similar to how we would use delta for difference, and then a partial, and then we're going to invert the delta. It makes sense. Okay. The Riemann, the Tiananmen square zeta function is this symbol here, and it's I mean, why? It's horrible to write. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't look like what it is. It has no reason or rhyme. It's just terrible. It's just trash. Who invented this? Is the trashiest one of them all? Okay, this is like horrible. Who made that dagger symbol? It looks cool. Okay, come on, it's a dagger. You know, it looks cool as hell. So it's got to not be in trash. But like, again, why is this the dagger symbol? Why is the dagger symbol mean the conjugate transposed? Why is that the case? Like, who decided that the dagger symbol was going to do that? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it kind of looks like a T for transposed, but other than that, I'm putting B tier. I mean, just because it's a dagger, it looks cool. This, however, I don't know why I like this one more than this, but I'm not going to put it in S tier. I am going to put it in A tier because this is used as like a special operation, and it just looks like a special operation, doesn't it? It just looks, it's used, well, not as a special operation. The correct term is that a custom operation. Like, you can do whatever you want with this. You can define it as a new thing. You know, it's not a plus, it's not a multiply, it's custom. And I think people should make more use of this. I'm surprised that people don't, because when I'm learning maths and I'm learning about operations and like, especially like intro to pure maths, and we're doing stuff like operations where the operation isn't necessarily something that like a plus or a minus, it's something that we have to define. Why don't we use a custom symbol rather than confusing ourselves with using pluses or minuses or multiplication? You know, use the custom symbol. It's there for a reason. This symbol, the cup symbol or the union symbol, it looks like a U. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in A tier. Now, I'm not going to put it in S tier because of just the slight reason that because it looks like a U, you might confuse it with the letter U. But other than that, I mean, it makes sense to use the letter U because the letter U stands for union, okay? And then same with the cap symbol. It's an inverse, or it's like the opposite of the letter U, which makes sense, the opposite of the union. So, and also it looks like the N in and, or even if you put a line through it, it looks like the letter A, right? So I'm going to put it in A tier as well. It's pretty good. It's not great though. Subset of. I kind of like it. It makes sense. You know, A is the subset of B. It's like you're saying this side is part of this side, and it's like a horseshoe. It kind of makes sense, you know, to me at least anyway. It makes sense in my head. So I'm going to put it in B tier. This one, element of, well, there's an interesting fact that it looks like the letter E. That's quite an interesting fact. And it stands for element of. E, element of. Boom. You know, pretty good. I'm going to put it in A tier as well. Not fantastic, but it's still an A tier. This as well goes along with it. This is there exists. Now, what I think happens with this one is they wanted to put maybe there, but like there doesn't, you know, we're not going to use the letter T because that's already taken by the always true. So they decided to go with the letter E, but the letter E was already taken because of the element thing. So if you take the E and put it backwards, then it becomes a new kind of letter E. I really like it. I like the creativity behind it. They've obviously put some thought behind it. So yeah, put it in A tier. This one, set difference. Not a big fan. I always accidentally write a slash, which is different than that. So that's got to minus some points. There's nothing really that tells me that this is the difference. I mean, it kind of looks like a slanted minus sign, but other than that, they could have done a better job with this one. Like, really, I'm going to put it in C tier. You know, it barely gets a pass because it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't as well. This one here, if and only if. Now, this implies symbol to me makes a lot of sense because the arrow is taken by to, and to makes a lot of sense. That's in S tier. This implies symbol is kind of like saying the same thing. You know, if A is true, then B. But we don't want to use the arrow because that's already taken. And implies is kind of like an arrow makes sense though, you know. So we use a double arrow. We use a double lined arrow. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to put it in A tier. And same with the if and only if, because if it's both ways, if that implies that and then that implies that, then if and only if. It makes a lot of sense. Next symbol. We've only gone through like just over half. My throat's already sore. Next symbol is this one here, the circle symbol. Now, somebody mentioned this in the comment section, and I do read some of the comments. So this symbol actually is kind of useless because, I mean, surely if you're going to use a function on top of a function, you would just write it with brackets like normal. There's no reason that when you're writing f of g of x that you have to make the f and the g composed. I mean, there probably is a reason to use this, but to me, like, you're just going to confuse that for the word fog, and that's like fog f, I mean fog x, you know. And also, in most circumstances, this just makes more sense to me. You're putting x through the function of g, and then you put it through the function of f. Makes a lot of sense anyway. You don't really need the circle to say that, you know. So I'm gonna put it in. I'm tempted. I'm gonna put it in complete trash. It's maybe a low level C because I'm probably missing something here, and you can let me know what that is in the comments. But I don't know really. This is the infinity symbol, okay? And it's a loop that's sort of wrapped around. Now, this I really like, okay, because if you're going to represent something infinite, you're going to use a loop because a loop is kind of infinite. You know, it wraps around and around and around. And you could draw the infinity symbol for infinity. You could just go over the top of it, right? There's no real end to it. And it's the concept of unboundedness. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. The infinity symbol is perfect for what it looks like. It means what it looks like. You know, it's got that property to it. You know, infinity symbol kind of is infinite, you know, in a way. You could go around it infinite times. But it's not a circle because the circle would look more like a circle, not infinity. So yeah, perfect. For all. Now, if they use the letter A, then this could be confused for the letter A. So they had to go with the upside down letter A. I like it. I like it a lot. And as well, the other reason why I like it is usually when I imagine for all, I imagine using the Control A buttons on your keyboard. And this to me looks like, it looks like you know, you're looking at like an upside down keyboard using Control A, or like the upside down version of A. You know, you're using a special version of A, a version which means for all. I like it a lot. Next symbol is delta. This pair here, delta and epsilon, I struggled with previously. Now I kind of get it. I get why they're used, but I struggled with the delta epsilon limits a lot. So I used to not like the letter delta or epsilon. I kind of like the letter epsilon because it's very easy to write. And I kind of like the letter delta because I like writing it. You know, it's like I do like a lot of these Greek symbols, like alpha, beta, gamma. Like those, I really love writing, and I love writing delta and epsilon as well. So in terms of writing, like how it is to just write the symbol on the page, like delta can be done in one stroke, okay? Delta is such a nice symbol. It can be done in one stroke, and it's like an S, but just with a little flick up to the middle, right? Delta. Epsilon has to use two strokes, but it's not bad, you know. It's a nice little symbol, okay? And some people use a little like that to represent epsilon, and I prefer that personally. So I don't know where to put these. I'll leave these for now. We'll come back to them later. Actually, I've already put delta somewhere. I put it here. Okay, I'm going to put it in A tier. I think it deserves an A tier. Epsilon, maybe a B tier because it's not as nice to write. Okay. Next one, not. Why is it a gun? It doesn't make sense to me. You know, in computer science, you use an exclamation mark. That kind of makes sense to me. I would prefer it if, you know, how they use like a slash over the equal sign to mean not equals. If it's somehow related to that, you know, like maybe if they used, instead of a slash, maybe if they used a vertical line, right, which looks basically like the same thing. And so if it was not an element of, they just use a vertical line. And then so not would just be the vertical line. Oh, but then that would be confused with absolute. Absolute should find a different value. Anyway, yeah, maybe not should just be a vertical line. Or maybe you should take a little bit off the engineering crew and use that, you know, or the electronics crew and use the actual not gate. Or maybe we can modify that in some way to make it more mathematical looking. Not F is like that, maybe. Not F. I don't know. Or maybe even if we make it nicer to write, we can do like that. So we can do it in one stroke. Boom, not. I don't know. So yeah, it could have been designed a lot better. I don't know why it's a gun. It just makes no sense to me. C tier? Yeah, C tier. This is or and this is and. Now, I don't really get why these get their own symbols. You could just use union or intersect, surely. I mean, I don't... Let me know in the comments what the difference is between the word and or and these symbols, because as far as I'm aware, there isn't any. As far as I'm aware, they're just the same thing. It makes sense because the and looks like the letter A, but without the line. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It's got to go in A tier. And then this one, yeah, follows on from the and symbol, doesn't it? Next is the always true. What other letter would you use? Now, this might be confused with the actual letter T. So for that reason, it can't go in S tier. But if it wasn't for the fact that it could be a little bit confusing, it would go in S tier. This one here is an upside down true, and it means always false. And it's not going to get confused with the letter F. What could be wrong with this? Maybe if this true was the upside down letter F, so it's not going to get confused with the letter F, and it's not false, so it's upside down false, upside down F, and then if the true symbol, sorry, if the false symbol is the upside down true, so that it's not going to get, maybe, that could be a thought. This one is the turnstile, I think it's called, and it means entails. And yeah, it looks like a tail. It looks like you've got like an animal. So if you imagine like, I imagine like a monkey, and then it's got a tail sticking out. It looks exactly like that. It looks like entails, you know? So I think it's a pretty good symbol. No complaints really. S tier. S tier. Semantic entailment, I'm not really sure. I'll just couple it with that. This one, I'd be lying if I said that I knew what a Hilbert space was or what this curly hair, if I've ever seen it before in my life. So I'm going to put it in, I don't know, tier. I'll put it in complete trash because I don't know, it must be complete trash. Next is Alif Null. Now, Alif Null and Beth, so many comments were saying how I should have thought deeper about, I should have done a bit more research about Alif Null and Beth and Omega and learned more about infinities. And have I done so? No. But let me explain to you why. Infinity, like, since primary school, I have not had to think about types of or making, you know, what is infinity really since primary school, right? Because when I was in primary school, I used to think about that stuff a lot because there was this game that you'd play like, I can name the biggest number. I'm smarter than you. I can name a number bigger than you. And then you just go infinity. And then they say Alif Null, and you look at them like, what's Alif Null? And they're like, haha, see, I'm smarter than you. You know, adults play the same game. Like, look in the comment section of this video. I guarantee you'll see adults that haven't watched this full video, that haven't gotten this far into the video, that say to, like, that are writing in the comments, oh, I know more than you because I know this and you don't. And they're right. I don't know a whole lot, okay? I lied to you earlier when I said that I was an expert. But, you know, I'm not a kid anymore. I don't really care about that stuff anymore, so I don't really think about infinity. There's no reason to. There's no need to. Who cares? You know, it's endless. You know, it's big. It's really big. So big, You know, it doesn't even matter how big it is. Okay. Complete trash. Same with this one. Complete trash. It's got to be better than. Got to be better than. Yeah. Got to be. I mean, I like Beth better. I like Beth better because it's like it encapsulates all of them rather than just having the one. This one here proceeds. To me, it makes perfect sense. It's a variation of the less than symbol, and it means kind of a variation of less than. It's like an order, but it's not necessarily less than. You know, it's like order, like the order of this is less than the order of this, but it's not necessarily less than. It's hard to explain, but like, yeah, higher than C tier. It's got to be in B tier. Yeah, B tier. Okay. Same with this one. Actually, no, A tier. A tier. All right. Gamma. Again, I'd be lying to you if I understood the gamma function. I know it helps with the continuous version of the factorial, but other than that, I don't know anything about it. C tier. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong about that. Lambda, capital lambda. Well, yes, this makes a lot of sense. You know why? Because the eigenvalues is lowercase lambda. Eigenvectors is capital lambda. So you've got these two are a perfect couple. I don't know why they went with lambda for eigenvalues. So I think they're a perfect couple, so they go together, but I don't think they go in a very high tier. Topology. A mug is not a donut. All right? I can't eat a mug. All right? I can't pour coffee in a donut. It'd pour right out again. Shut up. That's going in complete trash. Power set, is it? Power set? Yeah, I do know what that is. It's all the combinations. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good symbol because you use it in certain ways that makes you feel like an absolute genius when you use it. So it's not going in complete trash. It's going to go in A tier. It's a little bit difficult to write. You'll notice that a lot of these come into the end that I don't know, and that's because, like, do you expect me to know every single math symbol? Like, come on, guys. You know, I mean, I learned it for the video, obviously, but like, I don't really know. Hadamard product, I like it. It makes a lot of sense to me because, you know, for vectors, you use the dot product, and this is just the dot with a circle around it. So it makes so much sense to me. This one, or times, I think it's used for tensor product. I don't know exactly what you use tensor product for, so I'm just going to leave it in C tier. I'll let other people come and have a play around with this yourself. So Chi is a very confusing character because it looks like a curly X, but it's not. It actually is CHI, Chi. And it's used in chi-square test, which are a very annoying thing where you have to add up all of the values in a table and do some kind of operation on them. Absolutely terrible, would not recommend. So yeah, it's got to go in absolute trash. This next one is bow tie, and it means join. And what I like about this is that it looks like two triangles joining together. Next is the diamond, which means possibly. Why is it possibly? I don't know. Nothing that tells me about this that it's possibly. So I'm going to put it in C tier. This final one is the special function. And I kind of like this one because it's psi. And psi kind of sounds like special. Psi, special, spy, special. Okay, so I'm going to put it in A tier. Right, that is my ranking. Oh, actually B tier. That is my ranking, okay? These are all the symbols. S tier's got quite a few in them. A tier, so if we just keep all of these symbols, and then everything below A tier, if you guys work with me to modify these, then we can really fix mathematics here, because honestly, you know, the experts don't know anything. We clearly know more than them. So, yeah, if you want to try this out for yourself, then go to the link that I'll put in the description, and you can use these and modify this and make your own tier list of all the symbols. Okay,